So, Tom, what's your first topic?
My first topic is tinfoil hat conspiracy theories.
Nice.
But I'm gonna preface this because what I wanted the title to be was why I hate conspiracy theorists, but why I love conspiracy theories.
That'd be quite a long video title, but I can make it work.
That is not that long.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying, are you talking about like for YouTube?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that could work.
But I just mean like as a segue into what I want to talk about. Because conspiracy theorists for the most part, I'm not a huge fan of because my beef is more along the sides of it's almost impossible to disprove a lot of conspiracy theories for two reasons. One, something like Bigfoot. How do you prove that Bigfoot doesn't exist?
Yeah.
We've never found him. That's the best you got, pretty much, right? There's no evidence of him, so therefore he can't exist. Well, any conspiracy theorist would go to you and say, well, then that leaves all the reason why he could be around, clomping around somewhere.
Yeah.
So
if you can't find him, then he's obviously there.
Or like if something happened and you're a conspiracy theory of like some of the political stuff where they hired actors, quote unquote, to be like really ignorant protesters. How do you prove that they weren't paid?
Yeah.
Well, you'd probably have to follow them for a while or find some sort like if there isn't any direct pay stubs or anything like that where there's a smoking gun, how do you prove their innocence if they actually were innocent? You'd have to have a body camera on them their entire lives.
It's almost like they find one fact that might get you to think just a little bit, and then just push that as much as they possibly can.
Yeah, so that's one reason why
jet fuel can't melt steel bars.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a fact.
I mean, it's just you get these things where it's like it's so hard to disprove that then you can just run rampant with it.
Yeah,
but also I think that conspiracy theorists in general are opportunists. So something that would get the public eye, like a conspiracy theory of why oranges are called oranges, isn't going to get the masses moving, right?
No.
And
Alex Jones might talk about it.
Our big popcorn conspiracy theory.
That's one of the more popular ones.
That's
for
definitely
sure.
up there.
It's catching on.
But in all reality, I mean, obviously, we know we're joking, and everyone knows we're joking.
Yeah.
But there are people that say outrageous things, and they're around very, very violent or controversial, I should say, issues, and they get support because people think, oh, this could be possible. So, oh, maybe this is the way it is because one little thing could maybe have happened, and the whole thing flips a lid.
Yeah.
And this is actually one of the reasons why I don't think I would get into shows like House of Cards because people always say, oh, it seems really realistic. I don't know. I'm more on the side of I don't think that the political game is nearly as fucked up as most people think it is. I think it's actually a lot more tame because if I'm looking at what's reasonable, is it reasonable to believe that there are these colossal, monumental, earth-shattering cover-ups where not a single person ever leaks information about something very detrimental? Or is it more reasonable to believe that maybe it's not as fucked up and maybe the confidential information isn't as damaging, so it's better kept secret? You know what I mean?
Yes. I mean, you bring that up, and it's like we talk about this all the time. It's the conspiracy of the moon landing. For a fact of that some people actually believe that we never landed on the moon. And you talk about the amount of things that would take to cover it up. The amount of people that would have to keep their mouth shut and not utter a single word about what actually happened.
For decades and decades. So that's, I mean, that's to me, it's just like, okay, well, I can do whatever I want. Because this was actually, when I first stated this, I said there's two reasons why I'm not a huge fan of conspiracy theories. The second reason is because you can give them all the evidence in the world, but it just won't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, someone who honestly believes that the earth is flat, you can provide the millions of data, millions of pictures or anything you want, and they'll still look at you and say, oh, but they could have faked all that.
Yeah.
And to me, that's saying I don't care about logic, and I'm not willing to accept anything other than my predetermined the earth is flat theory. Yeah. And obviously that's a more popular one, evidently, because, Kyrie Irving legitimately thinks that the earth is flat.
Yeah. And then you had that
he's not the only one. He's definitely not the only one.
Yeah, and then you had that instance where I remember reading an article about a teacher that was complaining about Kyrie Irving coming out and saying this, and not just like in a jokingly way, actually saying it in like as a matter of fact, that he was fully convinced that the earth was flat, and that this teacher's kids would then not listen to him, and when he tried to explain that the world was or the earth was actually round. And I remember him saying that they were telling the teacher specifically that because Kyrie Irving doesn't believe that the world is flat, or that he does believe that the world is flat, that's how they are convinced that they believe that as well.
And I mean, obviously the kids should know better, of course, but at the same time, Kyrie's in a position where if you do have influence, come on, man.
Yeah,
that's going to be what you're promoting to the youth.
Yeah, even if you believe it, just shut up.
Yeah, dude, come on.
Yeah.
No, do your research, Joey. Do your research. That's what he said in an interview.
Oh, yeah, that's
when
right.
people asked him what he bases this also off of, he says people just need to do their research. I have. That's the issue.
Google Earth.
I have research that I don't even need to, because guess what? I look at the moon and I go, oh, wow, that's spherical. Oh, there's a curvature to it. Oh, I've been on a plane and the earth has a curvature to it.
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting. Boom.
Yeah. I mean, it's outrageous, especially when you bring up Bigfoot. And I always thought it was funny because you have these shows on the History Channel and Discovery Channel
thinking that,
with like trying to find Bigfoot and stuff. And those shows always made me laugh so hard, because if there was ever an instance where they actually found Bigfoot, you think it'd be a bigger news story.
Yeah.
So it's like you watch these shows and it's like, wait, this show's whole premise is finding Bigfoot. But if they actually did, we would have heard about it through some other avenue. So what the hell am I watching?
Right. And again, we kind of talked about the opportunist thing. Well, there's a perfect example. You have a TV show that gets ratings, which makes money off of those ratings based off a conspiracy theory. Mm-hmm. Because one thing you will note with these conspiracy theorists is most of them make money off of these conspiracy theories.
Lots of money.
Some way or another. And it's from blogs to news articles to, I mean, actual columns in their low-key, whatever you want to call. I mean, I don't know what you
editorials.
Call it. Editorial. That's a good way to put it. To YouTube videos, to non-YouTube, but just videos in general, to TV shows.
Yeah.
There's a lot of money to be made. And again, people just get one little whiff of, oh, that could have happened, and it's just off to the races. Let me just pour all this into you.
Yeah, and you talk about like TV shows in particular. One of my favorite, and I'll just preface this with, this is absolutely massively sarcastic, one of my favorite newscasters, Sean Hannity on Fox News, he gets paid, I'm pretty sure, 8 figures a year to go on Fox News, and then recently he tried to push this conspiracy theory of the Seth Rich story, which, if you don't know about the Seth Rich story, boilerplate is that people believe that Seth Rich gave the DNC files to Democratic National Committee, the emails that were leaked right before the convention. They believe that Seth Rich gave them to WikiLeaks, and that Hillary Clinton and the Democratic Party then assassinated Seth Rich because of the fact. So he was trying to push this story, and it got so intense to the point where Seth Rich's family was pleading and begging to have Hannity stop trying to push this story, because it was damaging to their family and to their kid, because he was trying to push the narrative.
His name.
Yeah, he was trying to push the narrative that this guy traded on his country, committed treason, and gave information to the Russians only to damage Hillary Clinton. That's all he was trying to push, and his family was like, please stop. He was just, in the actual story that the cops go by was that he was killed over like
breaking and entering.
Yeah, like a burglary or something.
And again, let's take that perfect example, political murder. Is it? Could I assume that may have happened? Of course. Does it make? Is there logic to follow? Okay. Is there an agenda that someone could? Is there a goal that someone could be pursuing? Of course. But do I think it's reasonable to assume that this happens in a modern day with as much information that transmit like millions of data per second? I don't think that's reasonable, because that's where it all heads is, could this have happened? Sure. But that doesn't mean that it did.
Yeah.
That's a stupid way to go about it. Oh, well, I mean, he has every incentive to go to WikiLeaks and leak this because he hated Hillary Clinton. That I get that logic,
mm-hmm.
and it's not that doesn't make sense in just the general purpose of, oh, there is something there is an incentive, there is a goal, there is a motive. It's just like when you watch like a crime show. Is there a motive? Of course, there's a motive for people to do everything. Is there a motive for, like, if a bank was robbed in Florida right now, do we have a motive to rob a bank? Of course we do.
Make money.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good motive.
But does that mean we did it? No. So it's like, I just feel like people connect dots that just aren't there. And it's just too easy to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's why I'm more on the side of things being less corrupt than people actually think, just because it's not reasonable for me to think that these insane cover-ups that would have to come along with it. Just, I mean, the amount of effort that would go into it, and all it takes is one person to tell one other person and it erupts. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I feel like as the time progresses, there's, like you mentioned, with how much data and how much information is being transmitted.
And that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Because back in the day, totally different.
Yeah, because that's what I was going to say.
Modern day is a whole different beast.
Yeah, because one of the, actually, I mean, it's not really conspiracy theory that I believe, and it's not, because I remember reading about, because I used to get way into, I mean, I've said this before time and time and again, I always get super into and interested in World War I, World War II, and the Cold War and Vietnam War as well. And one of the biggest things that I remember reading up on and learning about was the cause of the Vietnam War. Because during the Vietnam War, Lyndon B. Johnson,
the Vietnam War didn't happen.
Oh yeah, it never did.
Yeah,
that's just simple fact.
That's a legitimate conspiracy theory.
Yeah. Don't bomb our
that wasn't
don't nuke our imaginations, bro.
That is not me just saying that. There's people that believe the Vietnam War in fact never happened.
Yeah.
Continue.
So proceed on. So the whole idea is that I read about this.
So you're dreaming all of this.
Yes.
Because it didn't happen.
Yeah. I preface it with the war didn't actually happen to begin with.
Gotcha. Okay.
So the idea is that Lyndon B. Johnson, because many people wondered why we even got involved in the Vietnam War in the first place. Obviously, we supported South Vietnam. Did we support South Vietnam or North? I say I know about it, but I can't remember if we supported. I think it was South Vietnam that we supported.
I think we played both fields.
We just played the waters a little bit.
I'm pretty sure it was South.
Yes, I think it was South too. I'll fact check that when you go on another rant. What I was saying is that Lyndon B. Johnson directed naval ships and naval boats to go into the harbor that was next to North Vietnam.
Right.
And then was pretty much, I mean, that's pretty much a giant bait for attack us, try and do something. So it's almost like he acted as if one of those guys that you might see in high school, like, oh, try and hit me first and see what I do, because they just want to hit it first. Yeah. So the idea was that he sent naval ships into this harbor, and then there was some people that said that even he sent like undercover. I mean, I don't know if I think there were Navy SEALs even back in the day. So it would be like undercover kind of more special ops
Green
soldiers.
Beret?
Probably, yeah. So he sent those in to kind of just infiltrate and get information. And what happened is that they shot at us first, and then Lyndon B. Johnson played it off as, we got to go to war now because they attacked us without being unprompted whatsoever. But yet we were there first, and we caused the confrontation to happen. So it was like we were there, and we kind of like instigated it.
We
but
were
then
in their face saying, hit me.
Yeah, hit me.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly. Boom, game over. So, I mean, that's one of the more, I wouldn't necessarily call it a conspiracy theory because, I mean, it's not necessarily a gigantic cover-up, but it's definitely one of those things where if you were to classify it as a conspiracy theory, that's definitely something I would believe. Are there any ones that you could see yourself believing?
Okay, so for a really long time, I bought into the notion that the cure for cancer exists. But
see, that's another one I could believe too.
But again, I don't want to get caught in my own logic on the other side of saying, oh, well, it just because there's an incentive means that it's true.
Yeah. So Family Guy. Why would you cure it if you can treat them and bill them one day at a time?
But
Carter Peterschmidt.
But the problem is, okay, so there are other avenues. Okay, yeah. So there's treatments that are really expensive. The cure could be exponentially more expensive.
Yeah.
And again, to the same point, if there is a cure, do I really think that it's so under wraps that no one has ever mentioned it, that information didn't spread?
Yeah.
I would be very dumbfounded if that happened. Mm-hmm. Because something that large, okay, I don't know the statistics, but I'd assume that everyone that listens to this, almost everyone has had someone that they know experience cancer or in their families.
Yeah.
Like they at least know someone that has had it. So do I really think that if there's a cure and there's a lab that people figured it out, every single one of them would be so diabolical that they wouldn't at least try and get it out?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think that's a little bit unreasonable because not a little bit. I think it's absolutely unreasonable because think about the moral implication that would have. Because it's not one person that
Well, I mean, you have CIA people that work in the CIA and people that work in the, I mean, you have Edward Snowden who released the documents of what the
Right.
NSA was doing, but you also have thousands and thousands of employees of the NSA that haven't said a thing.
Right. But it still happened. Someone leaked it.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. And that spying on people and, oh, I could save hundreds of millions of people is a little bit different.
Yeah. I
mean, legitimately think about it. Think about the team that would have to figure out this cure, and then they all figure it out, and then they all have to be like, well, we can't tell anybody. That would be pretty tough. I don't think that there'd be that many more. Because the thing with the CIA is, I get your point, but the magnitude of what that haps is completely different. Yes, to me, that is a violation of personal privacy. But for most of those people, they probably thought that they were helping America. Because when you join the CIA, you're saying, I will do any lengths it takes to make sure that people are safe. But like preserving the cure for cancer isn't making people safe. It's literally killing people.
Yeah, I get that.
So I think that the motive for someone to leak CIA stuff is a lot different. That's just you saying, I can't stand for this. Whereas, the motive for leaking the cure for cancer is I can save hundreds, if not billions of people that are going to die.
Yeah. Yeah, and I get that to an extent. The only thing I would say as kind of like, maybe not, I'm more so of a devil's advocate, but if you have, because all advancements of technology come through the military. And I fully believe that, especially with nowadays when we talk about North Korea with all their nuclear capabilities and how they're testing out rockets and saying that it could reach the United States homeland. Because my thing is that I have zero doubt whatsoever in my mind that we have some sort of technology that could shoot that shit out from space or from wherever it's the technology is placed. I have no doubt in my mind that we have the capability to shoot that down.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Especially when it comes to military power, there's so many things where we wouldn't release information or tell people what we're working on in the hopes that, I mean, it's just like the Manhattan Project. You want to talk about a conspiracy theory that, or not even, I mean, that wasn't really a conspiracy theory, but you want to talk about something gigantic that was held under wraps by so many people, the Manhattan Project and the development of the nuclear bomb during World War II. I mean, there was so many people involved and no one knew at all what we were working on, what we were doing or anything. But then again, you talk about
that's back
in the day.
That's the thing.
During World War II. And it's definitely, I mean,
because again, cancer research, I mean, the exponential amount that we've had to do in the last few years is through the roof.
Yeah.
I mean, back in the 50s, did the NFL have a cancer October?
Yeah.
Breast Cancer Awareness Month, I should say.
Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely becoming more.
Because it's more prevalent.
Yeah.
But again, I just think that, is it reasonable to assume that they've been able to keep it under wraps this long and this many people would be that big a sacks of shit to do something like that? I don't think so. Especially because we know
people can be pretty shitty.
Yeah, but that many
yeah,
to
that's
that
true.
magnitude. I mean, to be honest, if there was a cure for cancer and it was under wraps and that was confirmed, it got leaked. I mean, those would be the worst people in the history of time, arguably.
Yeah.
I mean, they'd be up there, right?
Yeah.
In whatever ranking system, our top 5 of shittiest people ever.
People.
They would really push that number 1 spot.
That'd be an interesting topic.
Yeah. So that to that magnitude, I mean, to me, it's just, again, there's an incentive, but I don't think that automatically confirms that it's true.
No, I agree with that for sure.
So I would lean definitely heavily on that's probably not true, but I can understand why someone knee-jerk, like myself included for a long time, I was like, there's no way, just because for me it's like, look at how many diseases we've cured and the billions and billions and billions of dollars we put into it. How has nobody come up with a cure?
Yeah.
But at the same time, this is another thing. I think we need to leave a little bit more to the experts, because do I have any expertise in cancer research? No. So I'm going to leave it to the professionals who study for this entire careers. is my opinion really that valid just because I say, oh, there's an incentive, there's a motive? Or somebody who says, I've studied this shit and I'm telling you, no matter how much money you pump into this, we can't fucking figure it out.
Yeah.
And they've done this for 40 straight years. Who are you going to believe?
Yeah, that's true.
So to me, it's like, okay, is there a motive? Yeah. Does that confirm it? No. And then let's consult an expert. Oh, no, that expert's wrong because he's in the field, so he'd cover it up too. Come on.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's funny how conspiracy theories start to spread, because obviously one of the bigger topics of like the election and still going today is like the idea of fake news. But with the spread of social media, and you talk about platforms and people that are able to spread this information.
Yeah.
I mean, you have a guy like Alex Jones who has millions of subscribers on YouTube, millions of people tune into his show every single day, every single week, and he's pushing these outrageous things. Like the biggest one when you think of Alex Jones is Pizzagate, where he fully convinced his audience that Hillary Clinton ran a child sex trafficking business in the basement of a pizzeria. Right. And it got so extreme to the point where a dude went in there with a rifle and started shooting and claimed it was because he thought it was a Hillary Clinton child sex ring. But then,
let's add on to it, he also had a conspiracy that there was actually no shooter and it was all a hoax.
Yeah. Yeah, and he also pushed the idea that Charlottesville was completely 100% organized by the left.
Yep.
In order to get Trump to then talk about racism in the United States.
And when he talked about Sandy Hook being a hoax, and then he came back and said that it wasn't a hoax, and then when Megyn Kelly interviewed him, he said, no, I looked at the possibility of it being a hoax.
Yeah.
You looked at the possibility. Think about that statement you just put in your head. You looked at the possibility that somebody paid a man to shoot little children. Or that the children were actors, because that was the other thing, was that there was actually no children and we don't have the bodies. And blah,
and
blah.
all the parents of the deceased kids were actors.
Yeah, and again, how do you disprove that? Oh, I show you a death certificate. Oh, I show you photos of what happened. That's not enough.
Yeah.
So fuck off.
Yeah.
Because guess what? I don't want you at my kid's funeral.
Mm-hmm.
Do I want you looking around and looking at all these little kids' bodies? Like, come on, man. Fuck off.
Yeah, and it just goes down to the fact where, and we've preached this time and time again on this show, is that no matter what you see and what you think is true or what you might believe is true, always check your sources and check your facts, no matter what it is, no matter what the situation is, no matter how true you want it to be. Because I feel like that is the biggest thing, especially when it comes to conspiracy theories.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, you already have a predetermined, this is what happened.
Yeah.
There's a reason why you think that.
Yeah.
So anything else, nope. Not true.
Yeah, it's almost like it doesn't matter what they hear or what they know is true.
Exactly.
It's just like, I want to believe it, so it's true.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, and again, we're kind of ragging on the bad ones. I'll flip the script a little bit. I'll throw in a funny, like not a funny one, a cool one that I don't know enough about space, but it's kind of cool. There's a theory that the end of the world has already happened, but it's so many light years away that we just haven't seen it yet. Like, to me, again, plausible. I don't fucking know because space hurts my head to think about.
Well, even it just hurts my brain.
Yeah. When I think about just going and nothing stopping.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, that's
like,
just...
what's the end of stuff?
Yeah, just things.
Yeah, that just hurts my head.
Well, when the sun explodes, I mean, I don't know the exact time, but we won't know it for like a significant amount of time because of how much light it takes to travel from that far away.
Even light speed, just...
Yeah.
I mean, you want to talk about just melting my face off. The fact
quite
that
a way to describe it.
If you're on a different planet, time is traveling differently. So you could be on a planet for the equivalent of like a couple hours our time, but in reality, like 20 years has transpired. Yowzers.
I have a headache already.
Yeah, exactly. That kind of makes me sick to my stomach. But again, like, that's cool. That's not a conspiracy theory, but the world has ended.
It's already ended.
Yeah.
It's going to end by the time you watch this episode.
Yeah.
Well, another conspiracy theory that I kind of believe in, and again, it's similar to the one about Vietnam and Lyndon B. Johnson, that it's not really necessarily a conspiracy theory, but it's definitely an idea that I could see happening because of what like correlated with the sequence of events, and it had to do with the JFK assassination, because JFK's brother was then the head of the CIA, and everybody knows, I mean, not everybody knows, but if you don't know what the Bay of Pigs was, long story short, we sent in special ops to try and take out Fidel Castro. So after the Bay of Pigs, my theory is, or the theory that I believe, because I didn't come up with it myself, I read about it in the same book as the Vietnam War. I say theory, but idea. We'll go with idea. So the idea is that JFK's brother was the head of the CIA, and then Fidel Castro figured out that JFK's brother organized the Bay of Pigs and the attempt assassination on his life. And many people don't know that Lee Harvey Oswald was a banished, Cuba was banished from Cuba. So the idea is that Fidel Castro brought back Lee Harvey Oswald and then directed him to then assassinate JFK because of the fact, not just as a presidential assassination where just like one guy hates the president and that's why he did it. But the conspiracy theory is, or the idea is that the in-depth idea is that Fidel Castro figured this out and took it out on JFK instead of JFK's brother, because he was like, all right, well, his brother tried to organize my assassination, so I'm going to one up you and go after your brother, who's the president, and then that's what happens.
There wasn't just one shooter, Joey. Come on.
Yeah, that whole idea is nuts, too, because you watch and I've seen so many history documentaries about this whole thing, because
they do the trajectory and everything.
Like how when he gets shot and then he like goes forward, and then because the book depository is supposed to be behind him when the car is driving. So when the car is driving, he's driving forward, and then Lee Harvey Oswald is supposedly supposed to be behind him. So when he gets shot through the chest and he goes down and like he's holding on his chest and leaning forward, and then he gets blasted back and his head goes everywhere. The idea that Lee Harvey Oswald could do that with a gun, with a rifle, back in that day especially, and
he was a trained sniper though.
True, but if you shoot someone from the back and then they're supposed to like blow the same direction that you're shooting from, it definitely, because you talk about conspiracy theories, yeah, you have one thing that makes sense and then that's able to convince you, but that is a pretty big fact that if someone's shooting you from behind, I don't see how there's any way possible how not only are you pushing yourself back when you get shot, but then his head goes backwards and like parts of his head that blew off go backwards. So the idea that he got shot from behind and that transpired, that's definitely something that I could agree with, where if there were multiple shooters and that ended up coming out, like some say, a secret ended up being revealed sometime in the future and that was the case, I could totally believe that.
Holocaust, did it happen?
Yeah, that's like the moon landing too. It's just so dumb.
And there are thousands of people that believe that.
Yeah.
And there's people that's saying that a plane didn't crash into the Pentagon.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, where are the plane parts?
Yeah, because that was another one where I'll admit it to the fault of my own that there were times where I definitely was like, I wonder why there are no plane parts and blah blah blah, and looked into the facts, and it was just like it definitely gets you thinking, because regardless of these conspiracy theories and how batshit crazy these people are,
you got to look into them.
Yeah,
obviously,
and it's like you listen to it's like, well, I don't believe you, and you're kind of an asshole, but you make a decent point if this were the case.
Again, most conspiracy theories, I get why people would think that. Mm-hmm. Even the flat Earth theory, when you think about like the fact that you can walk straight, and you would think it has to be flat, of course. Yeah. Because if it was curved, then I'd fall. Or like, how can I be? I get that. I understand, but
gravity,
when it can be proven counter to that, you gotta listen.
Or when you just see a picture, of the Earth,
even like in the night, like you brought up the 9/11 Twin Towers. Oh, jet fuel can't melt steel. Well, a plane can fucking break steel.
Yeah.
Give me a break, man. Like, come on, just like use your head. Like, I understand that that's a hot button topic, but a plane exploding into it, and all of a sudden the building collapsed perfectly down the center, had to be explosions. That's how architects design buildings. Well, if you think about it reasonably, that's the way that it was designed. It was designed to fall on itself for exactly the reason you would think. So it doesn't collapse over and destroy everything. Because guess what? If there was this huge conspiracy theory about whoever, because there's some people that think it was the Republicans, some people that say it was the Democrats, some people say it was a foreign entity. Whatever you think, don't you think that they would want as much collateral damage as possible?
Yeah.
And it wouldn't just be 2 buildings. Like, if there was no videos of the planes going into it, people would say it was a UFO.
Yeah,
honestly. And people would believe it and say, "Oh, holy shit, it was a UFO crashed into them."
Well, it's funny because back when 9/11 initially happened and we went to war, the conspiracy theory at the time was that we only went to Iraq for oil, and then that conspiracy theory ended up becoming true to the point where that's just a general known fact now that we went to Iraq with no intention of finding weapons of mass destruction. It was 1,000% just to get closer and control the source of oil that was over there, because obviously the oil reserves in the Middle East are outrageous. So it's funny when you talk about conspiracy theories in general. That's funny that one started out as a conspiracy theory and then came around full circle and ended up being, wow, that was 100% true.
And I will say this, I fully am aware that obviously there's secrets kept from us, especially with the military. I'm a firm believer that we know 5% of the capabilities,
if that.
and I think, I honestly think that not only is that just a fact, but also that that's a good thing, and most people want it that way. I don't want to know our military secrets, and I shouldn't know. And the military doesn't want to tell you, and that's when I think conspiracy theories are losing a little bit of ground, because I say, oh, is it reasonable to assume that there's these massive cover-ups? To me, that's not a cover-up.
Yeah.
That's a matter of, oh, this is the betterment of society that they don't know.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit different than, oh, I could help a bunch of people, or, oh, I can disprove this, blah, blah, blah. If there's secrets kept inside politically or whatever, and they're kind of fucked up, but they help us as a society, then yeah, I'm sure that they're kept under wraps, and people hold that to the chest. I mean, there's stuff that every president knows about every president that's alive and passed away at this point that only presidents will ever know.
Yeah.
That's just a fact. Or there's stuff that Trump and Obama have shared that no one else is going to know about ever. And that's just
a little segue from my topic.
I mean, just in general. So,
yeah.
I mean, conspiracy theories are great when they're fun and lighthearted, but I get a little bit irritated when they profit off of them because there's huge money to make. But when they profit off stuff that's just really, really disrespectful, like the Sandy Hook massacre, like 9/11. To me, it's just save your conspiracy theories for the fact that, Fritos are going to make you grow an extra finger.
Yeah.
That's funny.
That's a good one.
That's hysterical. Well, and I guess it damages Fritos brand, so that's kind of lame.
Yeah.
But still, just in general.
Unless you want
an
extra finger.
But something like Seth Rich, Sandy Hook, 9/11, when there's victims and people died, I just wish we had a little bit more class and respect for them, because these are national tragedies where people lost loved ones. Can we just chill out a little bit and not get in their face and in their business about a bunch of bullshit when they're grieving loved ones? I think
you talk about shitty people. I mean, wherever there's money to be made, people are going to do whatever the fuck it takes to make it.
Yeah. But I just wish that we could pump the brakes a little bit. Go Bigfoot. Do Bigfoot.
Yeah.
And you know what? Make shows about it. That's fine. Profit off it. That's okay. I don't care. If people want to buy into that, that's fine.
Say Bigfoot caused 9/11.
Yeah.
There you go.
But if you see a Holocaust victim and you're a person that doesn't believe that the Holocaust happened, you say that to their face, like, you are a sack of shit.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. If you want to let us know what conspiracy theories you could see yourself believing, or what ones you think are just complete utter nonsense that we would all agree on that are complete utter nonsense, let us know in the comments below. Or as always, go to patreon.com/TJENT and donate $1, $2, $5, or $10. Post your response on the wall, and you'll get yourself on the show. That was a great topic.
Thanks, Doug.